Hello students, now I'm going to solve the problem number 65. I thought maybe it will be useful because I didn't show how to solve such a problem. So here we have given data. So problem number 65, okay, so it's 65. In 65, what we have a d vector. D vector is given to I vector minus 4j vector plus k vector. Okay, the unit in meters. Now we have to find the angle that vector makes with x, y, and z axes. Okay, so basically we have to find the theta. Now we know that by the formula, if you want to find the angle, you can find it by this formula: cos theta, since it's a dot product, it's not a vector product, cos theta is equal a vector dot b vector divided the magnitude of a vector multiplied to the magnitude of b vector. Okay, now I'm going to solve only the a part. What angle is going to make with x-axis? Okay, this vector. So if you try to imagine, suppose if all the I, j, and k vectors say it's a plus, then the image will look like this one. Okay, so suppose this is our x, let's say, okay, this is our y, this is our z. Okay, suppose that somehow your vector, okay, in this case, okay, it's let's say it's 2, then minus 4, then plus k. Okay, so that means your resultant vector is somewhere here. Okay, now in this case we have to find, let's just find the angle that it makes with positive x-axis. Okay, it's slightly difficult to imagine because it's in a 3D dimension. So let's solve it. So look, we have a formula. We have the vector d, and we just have to find the angle between d vector and x-axis. Okay, now first of all we have to revise few things. We know that if in the dot product, if cosine theta, if it's 90 degree, which means it will give you 0, right? So that means we can conclude that I vector multiplied to the I vector, or j vector multiplied to the j vector, k vector multiplied to the k vector will give you 1. Okay, because they are in the same direction. That means this one should give you cosine 0 degree will give you 1. Okay, but however in the cosine 90 degree, that means if you I vector dot j vector will give you 0. Why? Because the angle between them is 90 degree. Okay, now this is clear, I think, for now. So let's solve the problem itself. So that means cos theta is equal a dot b vector divided magnitude of a multiplied magnitude of b. Okay, so that means we can say that a, in our case, a vector, say it's a d vector. Okay, so d vector in our case is equal to 2i minus 4j plus k vector. Okay, now dot in our case is, this is our, let's say this is d vector, this one, let's say it will be dx vector. Okay, dx vector in our case is just equal to 2i vector. Okay, now what about the magnitude of a vector? The magnitude of a vector is simply you just have to square them and add them, okay, and multiply to the b vector. In our case, b vector will be because this is a d vector, will be dx vector, okay. So dx vector will be, the magnitude of dx vector is obviously 2 squared and taken under the square root, okay. So then cos theta is equal to, now 2i vector multiplied 2i vector will give you plus, okay, 4, right? But if you multiply minus 4j vector to the i vector will give you 0, plus k vector multiplied to the i vector will give you also 0. So we'll just end up, just I to I will give you 4. Now what about the bottom side? In the bottom side, if you take the square root of 2 squared plus minus 4 squared plus 1 squared and multiply to the 2 squared under the square root will give you, if you do calculation, 9.16. okay, that means your finally your theta is equal inverse okay, just one inverse cosine 4 divided by 9.16, which means your theta should be simply 2, just one moment, cosine 4 divided 9.16 should give you 64 degrees. Okay, this is how you do for the rest of the y-axis and z-axis. Okay.